Hi, welcome back. This is Kristy with Guidepost to Wellness, and welcome to any new viewers out there. On this channel, we talk about anything and everything that has to do with wellness, specifically around the foundations of movement, nourishment, stress management, and getting good rest and sleep. And today, this is part 2 to the video talking about misinformation, if I can get the words out, about intermittent fasting. So like I mentioned in the first video, the health industry and the fitness industry, they are out there to make money. They really are. And if every diet and every exercise plan worked as well as they claim, then there'd only really need to be one and it would work for everybody. And we're too bio-individual for that. That's why I've started using intermittent fasting, which is more of an eating plan and a style and not a diet. It doesn't tell me what to eat. I don't like anything that's going to restrict certain types of nutrients or foods because that just doesn't work long term. Intermittent fasting is a form of calorie restriction, which always helps with fat loss, and it also has so many other amazing health benefits. But I'll put the links down below for that. I did the first video that talked about some other myths. This one is going to focus a little bit more around some of the fitness myths and some of the hormonal myths. So what we're going to talk about today are talking about like your basal metabolic rate and testosterone and some other things like that. So with intermittent fasting, again, it's not eating for periods of time and allowing the body to heal and do a lot of amazing stuff behind the scenes. So there are a lot of myths out there that the fitness industry wants you to believe. And one of them is that you need to eat every couple of hours in order to keep your metabolic rate. And I believed in this one as well. I read information, but I didn't get all of the information. It wasn't completely balanced on both sides. So I thought at one point too that was important, and that if you didn't eat enough and didn't eat enough calories to maintain your basal metabolic rate, you could slow down your metabolism. But the key thing is when you're fasting, it does not, intermittent fasting anyway, does not affect your metabolic rate. Your body is just amazing, and it's going to find the calories and use the calories by converting fat and the storage that you already have in your liver and your muscles. It's going to convert that into blood sugar, and it's going to maintain your body just to be able to sit around and lounge around and not do anything for a period of time. And fasting does not change that. And it's just, there's a lot of studies that show that, and I'll put the link to Brad's book, and you can research that more if you're interested. So another myth out there is that you shouldn't exercise whenever you're fasting because you don't have the blood sugar and you don't have the nutrients in order to help you exercise. But then on the other side, many folks will tell you that you should exercise only in a fasted state to get the best benefit. Well, the key thing is that the muscles store their own fuel. So you will use a lot of that up while you're exercising, and then your body will start converting other types of body tissue, fats, and things of that nature to sugar for you that aren't going to impact you over the long run. The studies have found that you can do 3 days of fasting and it doesn't have any effect on how strong your muscles are. So that's really, really a major thing when it comes to exercise. Another study showed that even doing an 18-hour fast had no effect on 90 minutes of aerobic activity and the ability to do it. Now, fatigue may have set in sooner because you may have used up your muscle glucose earlier on, so then your body's starting to convert it, and it takes a little bit longer, but you still have the capability to do it. So you still can definitely exercise. I mean, think about it. You've got marathon runners that run for hours at a time with very little nutrients. So obviously we can exercise and fast. Now, you can see endurance types of athletes. If you are fasting over 24 hours, they will get exhausted sooner if they're fasting than if they aren't. So I don't know about you. I'm not an prolonged endurance type of athlete. A nice long hike is about as much as I want to do, but I think that's important for those athletes to consider, but not the average intermittent faster. And the thing is exercising while you're fasting actually improves your blood glucose and the glycogen, which is the stored glucose. It improves their pathways because it forces your body to use them more. Because if you've got sugar in your blood, if you've got glucose in your blood, your body's going to use that first. So that's why when you're fasted, you actually force your body to use the muscle sugar first, and that just keeps those pathways working well. Now, that's just general exercise, and I talked about the strength of the muscle, but the other thing that a lot of times you'll read is that if you fast, you're going to lose your muscle mass because your body's going to eat your muscles, and that's just not true, not with intermittent fasting. And the other key thing with intermittent fasting, and Brad does mention that this is really important, is that you need to be doing some type of resistance training 2 times a week. I'll put a link to my video on that. And it's important to keep your muscles moving and keep using them to do functional fit type things, to do body weight exercises, or all different types of resistance training. So you've got to use the muscles in order to not lose them. You're more inclined to have your muscles to atrophy due to disuse than you are from fasting, intermittent fasting. So that's important to understand. Because studies have shown you can fast up to 72 hours before your body's ever going to need to start using your muscle mass as a fuel source. And the other thing too is these bodybuilders probably don't want to hear this, and Brad's got the research in his book behind this, but the timing of your protein intake really doesn't impact your muscle growth. It's important to have the right protein building blocks, but to have all these muscle builders that you take before you work out, after you work out, all those types of things really are just another opportunity for them to sell you something. So just keep that in mind. So that's fasting and muscle mass. Now, another thing that's important is some hormone levels. And first one we're going to talk about is leptin. So leptin is a hormone that is released by the fat cells. And what's really interesting is that there was one study that was done on mice that showed that leptin impacted metabolic rates. And so that's where you have a lot of people going out and saying, oh boy, if your leptin levels decrease and all that type of stuff, it's going to affect your ability to burn fats. It doesn't work that way in humans. Again, we're very fine-tuned creatures, so that our body is more resilient than a small mouse's body is to leptin changes. So leptin levels in humans appear to actually increase with the amount of food that we eat. So yes, our leptin levels go up, and that makes us know that we're feeling fed. And actually our blood leptin levels, what makes them go up and stay elevated is periods of overeating. So that can really affect it. And the more body fat that we have, the higher blood leptin levels that we're going to have. So the key thing is you can reduce your leptin levels, which again, that's one of those hormones that regulates hunger. You can reduce your leptin levels by up to 80% during intermittent fasting, and it does not impact your metabolic rate. So we're not mice, we're men. And so our leptin levels are not changed. Our metabolic levels are not changed by leptin levels like mice are. So you can just cross that, is another myth due to fasting you can cross off. Our hormones are extremely complicated in all the things that they do for our body. Leptin connects to the amount of fat on the body, our appetite regulation, fat burning over the long term, all those types of things. But intermittent fasting, shorter periods of not eating, is actually beneficial for all of that hormone regulation. Just saying. The other one, this is another big one for bodybuilders that is really relevant, is they talk about if you fast, you're going to tank your testosterone levels. And especially for men where the testosterone levels in bodybuilding and muscle mass are all linked much more so than they are for women, that can be a selling point for supplements and not to fast and things of that nature. The thing that's ironic is that testosterone levels are the highest in the morning after sleeping, which you're fasting when you're sleeping. So isn't that kind of a counter argument that fasting is going to affect your testosterone when it's naturally higher after you've been fasting? And studies actually show that eating and overeating cause your testosterone levels to go down. So again, this is just a myth. It's not accurate. So again, they're trying to sell you something. The truth of the matter is that your testosterone levels are lowest in the morning after a period of fasting, and they actually can go down the more that you eat. Now, the thing that's interesting too is that losing weight, losing especially body fat in a healthy way, can increase your overall testosterone levels, and that has to do with potential estrogen storage in the fat and things of that nature. Also affects your liver. So the healthier your liver is by not having extra weight, the better it's going to be at regulating your testosterone levels. Now, if you are chronically doing low-calorie dieting over a period of time, then that can actually decrease your testosterone. So that's why chronic low-calorie versus intermittent fasting are two very, very different things. They both lead to decreases in your calories over the week, but one is much healthier for the body over the long term. They've done tests for showing that 14 to 18 hours, which are the very common time ranges for intermittent fasting, daily for a period of 30 days did not impact testosterone. So they're doing the longer term studies. So they're really showing that it does not impact it. And another thing that is interesting, showing extreme types of training for folks out there, that if you are doing longer fasts, or if you're doing some type of really intense military training, or if you're doing a really intense fitness regime, like maybe Power 90X or some of those extreme, really, really hardcore exercise programs, you could see a slight decrease in testosterone levels. But then once you eat again, if you're like in the military, there are times when you're definitely in stressful periods where you're not eating for long periods of time, high levels of physical activity. But after the refeed, when you're actually able to rest and eat again, testosterone levels actually rebound. So again, pretty thorough studies in Brad's book. I'll put the link for that below, talking about different hormones. So you can see that there are a lot of myths and misinformation out there about intermittent fasting. And the really big reason why is because there's nothing to sell you when you're intermittent fasting. You're actually eating less foods. You're not eating a bunch of supplements and, pre-workout and post-workout special drinks and power bars and all those types of things. You don't need them because you're going periods without eating. And the marvelous thing is that this is something that we've been biologically designed to do, and we've been doing even for social and religious reasons for many, many years. So it's pretty innate, and it's something that's very simple to do. I really recommend that you check out Brad's book, Eat, Stop, Eat. I'll put the links down below. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you have had any experience with intermittent fasting, let me know. I look forward to hearing it. Take care and be well.